I've made over $10,000 online working remotely as an appointment setter, and I can confidently say that appointment setting is the easiest and quickest path to making your first 4 figures a month. Now, look, I was born in Venezuela, a South American country, and I was just a 17-year-old kid living with his family. And I ended up just moving to Madrid at the age of 18, and then I got to a point where I could support myself with this role, making about 2,000 to 4,000 a month, working from my laptop, even just working 5 hours a day. And the good thing about it is I don't need to commute. I actually enjoy my work. I like the people I work with, which not a lot of people get to say. And I have complete autonomy over how I work. And nobody's watching me. Nobody's in the office with me here looking behind my back, paying attention to every single little detail. Sure, I have some goals or targets that I need to hit, but then I can just work however I want, right? And I can do all that from the comfort of my home. And luckily for me, I now get to teach people how to get to that same transformation. So look, I've tried everything from video editing, 3D design, animation, even starting my own business. And all these things can be great, but the issue is that they can take quite a bit of time to actually start showing some results. And sometimes you just need a way to pay rent. Maybe you need a way to put food on the table. Or maybe your parents want you to go to college and you just need a way of showing them that you're actually making progress while working on your own stuff. Kind of like in a situation that I was in. So in this video, I'm going to talk about what appointment setting is, what the good about it, the bad about it, who it's for, who it's not for, and how to actually get into it as a complete beginner. So what even is appointment setting? Now, for those of you that don't know, basically appointment setting is the role where, let's say, for example, you get a potential lead coming in who is interested in a service. What you do is you reach out to this lead as an appointment setter and you convince him, you sell them on the idea of scheduling an appointment with a closer who will then take this lead who might have a little bit of interest in your service and then turn them into a closed deal, an actual paying customer, right? So, that could be either with, like, you're either setting appointments with people who have no clue who you are, have absolutely no idea what your company even is about, which are cold leads, or you could be doing appointment setting with warm leads who have already heard about your company but haven't booked an appointment because maybe they have a lot of resistance towards it, maybe because it's uncomfortable. People know they're getting sold to nowadays. They're not dumb. So let's give some examples around this. And let's say you work in the home improvement niche and you work with contractors that do kitchen and bathroom remodels. And an appointment setting in this case would be like, maybe let's say they're running ads on Facebook and a lead opts in saying that they're interested in remodeling their kitchen and they leave their contact information. Well, you as a setter, you would take that contact information, either text or call or both. And let's say you call them, you call that lead, you get on the phone with them, and then you qualify the lead. First of all, you want to make sure that this is somebody you can help, that they actually are qualified for your services, whether that means they have the money for it or they have the kind of work or problem that you're looking to help them solve. And then once that's done, you want to sell them onto the idea of scheduling an appointment. And the reason I keep saying you want to sell them on it, because appointment setting is in itself sales, except instead of you selling the prospect on giving you money, you're just selling them on scheduling an appointment with somebody who will explain everything to them and will take money from them. Let's give another example. There's a lot of people that do coaching, like info products. They sell coaching services and that kind of stuff. In that case, appointment setting could be, let's say they're running ads, a lead comes in from the advertisements to showing interest in their services, and then you as a setter, what you would do is maybe through DMs or through calls, you maybe call the lead up, say, hey, I saw you clicked on this ad about learning how to garden your flowers. And then you have that conversation with them. Again, you qualify, make sure everything's good to go, and then you set the appointment. Another thing as well could be with marketing agencies. You see a lot nowadays where people will, I'm sure you've heard of cold calling before. And that's basically where you're calling people that have absolutely no clue who you are, what you're selling, or what your company's about. And then you're basically taking this person who has, he's just basically a cold, like he has no clue who you are. You're taking this person and creating this interest within them so that they then have they book this appointment with the person that is actually going to close a deal. In that case, it would be the marketing agency or whoever's closing for that. Now, there's different kinds of setting. There's B2B and there's B2C. B2C stands for business to consumer. And the way that this one works is you're basically setting appointments for somebody that is selling to a direct consumer. So that might be, let's say, a dentist. If you're going to a dental clinic, like say you're working as an appointment setter for one, you're scheduling appointments between the dentist and the patient who wants to get the teeth checked. Let's say you're working with real estate agents. Like let's say you yourself are setting appointments for a real estate agent. Well, this real estate agent is going to help this consumer, this person, find a new home, right? So that's an example. That's pretty much what B2C stands for. And then B2B setting is where you're instead working from business to business. So for instance, back to the marketing agency example, if you're working for a marketing agency that helps real estate agents get more leads, then you as a setter would be setting appointments between the real estate agent who wants to grow his or her business and the marketing company that is going to facilitate that. That's just a quick rundown through it. I personally prefer B2B. And the reason I'm saying this is just so you have a heads up of so like kind of what the setting space is all about. Again, I'm going to keep this very high level so I can just get through all this stuff quicker. Before I start talking about the good stuff and why I should get into a setting, let me actually talk about the bads, the negatives, why setting might not be the best thing. And the first thing is that you will face a lot of rejection. People will say no a lot of times, and you're going to have to handle that. Especially at the beginning, it can be quite a bit difficult when you're just hearing so many no's, you're getting a lot of rejection. It can be a bit hard to deal with at the beginning, especially at the start. Some people will be very rude to you. Like I've had so many people tell me to F off. Had the guy, like a fucking crazy guy on the phone telling me that he wants to find me and like kill me or some crazy shit. Good thing I'm in a different country, so that can really happen. But you get these types of people every now and then, and it can, depending on how you let it affect you, it could ruin your day, or you can just move forward in spite of it. But another thing is, like, some days it can be quite a bit boring, like the day-to-day stuff whenever you're appointment setting. And again, this kind of depends on what kind of offer you're working for or what kind of company. But you will have some times where like you're just making calls and nobody's picking up the phone, and you're just sitting there like, okay, cool, what now? Just letting the phone ring and just waiting. So that can be a little bit boring for some people. For others, it could be an advantage because they can do other stuff in that free time, which we'll get to in a second. But last but not least, another reason why setting might not be the best thing for you is that some days you will get results while some others you won't. Because setting is in itself a way of sales, a lot of it is commission based, meaning that if you want to make some real good money in this industry, there is some risk to it, which is that you're going to have to sacrifice some base salary to actually make more money when it comes to commissions. And again, some days you might have days where you make 100 calls, and from these 100 calls you book, let's say, 0 people, and the next day you make 10 calls and you book 3 people. That could fuck with some people mentally because they're like, oh shoot, like what happened to me? Am I regressing? What's going on with my skill set? How do I track this? It can be stressful for some people to have that level of like uncertainty, but for a lot of people that's actually what they thrive in, and that's what really drives them to perform. Now let's talk about the actual benefits of appointment setting and why it might actually be the thing that you should go for. Well, the first thing is, pretty self-explanatory, kind of like with any form of remote work. If you're in Europe or any third world country, you can make some very, very good money compared to how much that country, like how much the average salary or minimum wage is in your country, because you can work with people from other wealthier countries like the USA, Switzerland, the UK, and then you can get paid based on like their salaries there. Sure, some people might pay a little less, but then if you're from one of those countries, like you're still gonna make some money. Not to mention, especially when you get to the higher skill levels, people, like let's say you're working for people in the United States, they will pay you like US salaries if you're actually good at what you do. Like I've seen it happen over and over again. And I myself have had that experience as well. And last but not least, but like you can move to somewhere where the cost of living is really low. Like I had a friend, he actually, he was also doing like appointment setting, and he just moved to, I think it was Brazil or Peru. The cost of living is really low, but then he's making enough money to where he can just like travel the world and still have money left over. And again, it's not something that takes a lot of time to set up, because appointment setting, it's pretty straightforward, right? It's not like a business or a big project where you have to invest a lot of money or invest a lot of time. Of course, it requires some time and commitment on your end. But like I said at the beginning, it's not this thing that will take years to actually start paying off. Now, let's talk about the actual earning capacity. For absolute beginners, for people with zero experience who have never done appointment setting, you can expect to earn about maybe $1,000 up to $2,000 a month. Maybe a little bit less. Actually, usually it's between that range, but it just depends on the offers that you go for. Because especially for very, very beginner entry-level roles, people will pay maybe like on the low end, like a $500 to a $750 base. Again, that's the low end. Some of them will even pay $1,000 base, but then most of it is actually the commissions and how much you manage to make from that. But again, as a beginner, maybe that's a more realistic expectation, anywhere from like the low thousand to maybe 2K at most. Anything like when you actually get to the intermediate level, that's when you start getting into the 2,000 up to 5,000 a month, and this is usually where most people get to, including myself. It's actually pretty, like, yeah, when you reach the intermediate level, that's how much money you make, and there's there's nothing else to it, except that when you get to the advanced level, that's when you start making 5K, 4K plus. And there's even been some people that have made 10K a month doing appointment setting, but these are kind of few in between. So you shouldn't really set that expectation for yourself. Of course, if you want to get to that level, then that's your goal. You want to do that. That's great. But if you're just somebody who wants to get into appointment setting because they need the money short term, or you're trying to work on something else, then don't expect that you're going to be making tens of thousands a month doing this if you're not like committing yourself 100% to this. Now, I also want to mention that no matter how skilled you are, as long as you're in a bad offer, you're not going to make money. Let me explain. Let's say you are a professional gold miner. Okay, so let's say you know how to mine gold really well, like you have your pickaxe and you just get to work. If you go to an iron mine, you can be the best gold miner in the world, but you're not going to get enough. You're not going to get gold. Maybe you might get a few bits of gold here and there because of your skill level, but very, very few in between. However, let's say you're a complete beginner that has maybe like the only thing they know how to do is just how to swing a pickaxe, and you go to a gold mine. Well, guess what? That beginner is actually going to get more gold than the other person that is more advanced, just because you're able to pick the right mine or the right opportunity. And so that's actually, funny enough, that's one thing that I help people with. I actually have a program where I help people get into appointment setting and help them choose the right offers. And anyway, I'll get into stuff later. But a big problem as well with the job market nowadays, especially when it comes to blue collar work and like physical jobs and that kind of stuff, is that all of them require some form of experience to get started. Whether it's a degree or actually even jobs that like you need a degree for, like a lot of times they will require experience, which is dumb. The good thing about appointment setting is you can get started with zero experience at all. Like I was 17 when I got into this. All I did was just make calls, and that's how I got into it. Again, you don't need any experience or any degrees, none of that. All you need is a computer and a microphone. And if you're not tech savvy, then don't worry about it, because you don't need to be tech savvy. The most tech savviness that you'll need is like you just need to know how to log into a website and how to use a Gmail account. Like that's literally it. So one of the greatest benefits that appointment setting provides for setters is that you're judged based on your performance. So usually in regular jobs, like, you go from work from 9 to 5 and like the day's over, and whether you hit your result or not, you're good, whatever. The thing about performance-based work is that if you hit your performance or your goal or the results that you're looking for, you can get away with doing less work or working less hours, or you can even, like, there's a lot of leverage that comes with that. Because like, at one point I was working part-time, like 4 to 5 hours a day, and I was outperforming people that were working full-time. And I was getting paid equivalent to or more than them because of the fact that I was getting the performance. And I was fine with the owner of the company, because I was getting the result. So as long as I'm getting the result, hey, I mean, I can work less if I wanted to. Now, of course, if you want to make more money, then the more you work, the more money you're going to make. But I'm also talking for the kind of people who have aspirations like being an entrepreneur or having their own business, or even people who want to like get into a different career that are just using appointment setting as kind of a launch pad to get there. Anyway, back to the point. Another great thing about it is you have quite a bit of dead time often. And again, this could be either a good thing or a bad thing for you, but oftentimes it can be a good thing, because if you know how to utilize that downtime properly, you can really get ahead on other tasks. What I mean by downtime, by the way, is like, let's say you're making calls and you're just dialing people, making call after call after call, and nobody's picking up. Well, there you go. Now you've got, a couple minutes where you can do work in, or you can get ahead on some tasks, or perhaps you can even read a book. Some people even, by the way, what they do is literally have 2 appointment setting offers at the same time. Like they'll have one which is for calling and one which is for like DM setting, and they'll be like alternating between the 2. So whenever they're like in dead time for one, they'll do work for the other one, and vice versa. And again, because you're judging performance, like people can get away with it. Like there's even been people who do 3 roles at a time and they get away with it just because of the fact that you're mainly judged on what results you bring to the table. Now, one last thing is that it's actually easy to stand out as a setter. Like, it's not hard to beat the competition. Like, the bar for success has never been this low, especially in this niche. Like, a lot of people are mediocre. You know, there was a point where if you just knew how to speak English and you had a little to no accent, you would get hired as a setter. But now, like, it's the reason it's easy to get ahead is most people are just complacent. You're watching this video, or if you're watching this video, you're most likely somebody that has hunger. And hunger, I will say with confidence, is the number one trait of a salesperson or an appointment setter. That's what companies look for. They look for people who are driven, who are hungry, who are willing to go the extra mile. And I will say that goes beyond any level of skill that you might have. And I think if you have hunger, like, you'll make it very far in this industry. Now let's talk about who this is not for. This is not for people who are weak-minded / sensitive. So people who, maybe if somebody says something bad to them, they start complaining, whining, like crying and acting like a little baby. That's probably not for those type of people, because you will face rejection. It's probably not for people who are content with the 9-to-5s or who are content with being unemployed. If you're happy with where you are, then there's no need for you to get into this. It's not for people who think that making money online is fake and is a scam. It's also not for someone who doesn't even know how to create a Gmail account. Like, again, like I said, you don't have to be tech savvy, but if you can't even open Google or make your own Gmail account, then, best of luck with that. And last but not least, this is not for somebody who just wants to make life harder for the sake of it. And look, I'm going to go on a side tangent here, because I know, I'm in self-improvement myself, and a lot of people who are in self-improvement, they'll look at like hardship and suffering and hard times, and it's a good thing, of course. Like, look, hardship, suffering, hard times, they make you into a stronger person, they develop you. But suffering for the sake of it, for like without a purpose or without a goal behind it, it's pretty dumb, right? And I actually, funny enough, I used to have these beliefs before. Like, a lot of these things that I'm talking about, they're things that I used to have, but I was able to change. But back to the topic, like, let's say for example, would you sleep on the floor just because it was harder? Of course not. Like, it's something that's hard, so it should theoretically make you stronger. Well, no, in this case, no, because it's not like you're sleeping on the floor without some end outcome or some reason for it. Same thing, like, if you want to go and throw up after every meal, like, on purpose because it's uncomfortable, sure, this discomfort grows people, but that's not going to grow you. Like, you're just choosing a hard path for the sake of it, right? So if you're somebody who wants a hard life just because, then it's probably not for you either. Now, here's the thing. You can change all these. I did that, and you can too. The only thing that you need is the desire to actually change. Which actually ties into my next point. That if you have these traits and you still want to get into setting and making money online, you can still do that. Funny enough, I actually teach I actually teach people inside of my academy how to do that, like how to go from being this person or how to change these beliefs into being the kind of person who does succeed with this line of work. Let's now talk about who this is actually for. This is for people with long-term visions who might need some short-term cash. This might be because they need a way to pay rent, they need to put food on the table, or perhaps even they want to move out, but they don't have the resources to do so. If you're living with your parents or whatnot, and you just want to go to a different country, different city, kind of like what I did, this is for you. Another thing is for people who are interested in the world of sales, who want to get their foot in the door. If that's you, then this is definitely for you. Like I mentioned, appointment setting, it's a launchpad, it's a Kickstarter. You get into it and it ties into, like, you get into appointment setting, and then you can just catapult into any sales industry that you want. This is also for people who are unsatisfied with their current jobs, who want something less demanding and more fulfilling, more enjoyable, that they can actually work on and not be stressed out 24/7 and like all this bullshit. Of course, it also goes without saying that this is for people who want to make more money. And last but not least, it would be for future entrepreneurs or aspiring professionals who need money to invest and put towards their career or their business, which is kind of what I'm doing right now, funny enough. But anyway, so how do you actually get started? Well, look, my whole channel is dedicated to helping aspiring and current setters level up. There's a lot of topics that go into appointment setting that can't fully be covered in a single video effectively. Stuff like objection handling, frames, state management, discovery, pitching, etc. There's so much stuff that goes into it, and each topic in its own could have like 10 videos on it. So the good news is I am teaching people all these different things on this channel completely for free. And then if somebody, like if you, for example, want to get to that goal of being an appointment setter, making 2 to 5 grand a month faster, then I've also got my paid program that you can access. And then that will actually help you get there faster instead of you trying to piece all the, the pieces of the puzzle together. Like you've already got somebody who's done that for you. But in any case, you can still use these videos and you can still get a lot of value from them. And they should hopefully give you the knowledge and the information that you need to implement, get better, and overall get your feet wet in the industry. So yeah, if you want to check that out, that's in the link down below. Otherwise, you've got my free videos. That being said, that's basically it. Hope you found this valuable. Have a good day. Bye-bye.